We've got some comments from Ron DeSantis that have gotten a lot of attention. The Trump side is painting this as sort of like his Hillary Clinton deplorables moment. The DeSantis side is saying that his comments were taken out of context. So we want to play for you his comments more or less in full. There's no cuts, I mean, in the middle. So you can get a sense of exactly what he was saying in this piece, and then we'll talk about it on the other side. Take a listen.
I think that we have a strand in our party that views supporting Trump as whether you are a rhino or not. And so you could be the most conservative person since sliced bread. Unless you're kissing his rear end, they will somehow call you a rhino. So it's been totally detached from principle and what you actually believe and results. And it's more about, just what faction you happen to do. So there'll be people who are huge Trump supporters, like in Congress, who have like incredibly liberal left-wing records that's really just atrocious. And yet they're viewed as by some of these folks as like really, really good. Then you have other people, like a Congressman Chip Roy, who's endorsed me, Congressman Thomas Massey. These guys have records of principle fighting the swamp that are second to none. And yet they will be attacked by some of these people and called rhinos. So it's just been totally detached from any type of substance. And ultimately, a movement can't be about the personality of one individual. The movement has got to be about what are you trying to achieve on behalf of the American people? And that's got to be based in principle. Because if you're not rooted in principle, if all we are is listless vessels that's just supposed to follow, whatever happens to come down the pike on Truth Social every morning, that's not going to be a durable movement.
All right, so let me get you the Trump campaign response, and then Saagar, I'm particularly interested in your reaction to those comments that have been construed as him referring to Trump supporters as listless vessels. I personally think the context makes it a little unclear exactly what he's referring to. Yeah. Anyway, put the Trump campaign response up on the screen. They say, Ron DeSantis must immediately apologize. Hillary Clinton Trump supporters are deplorables. To Ron DeSantis, they are listless vessels. The truth is Trump supporters are patriots. Ron DeSantis is showing his true colors. Pressure polling in third place is getting to DeSantis, and now he's lashing out at the very same voters who got him elected governor. DeSantis must immediately apologize for his disgraceful insult. This is per a spokeswoman for Make America Great Again, Inc. So what did you think of DeSantis' comments?
I thought he was totally right. I don't think there's anything wrong about what he said. In terms of winning, though, you probably shouldn't say that. So it's one of those where analytically, he's obviously right. And I think it's probably a frustration born of you are running the on paper, you're ticking all the boxes that these people say they want. They're like, we want to challenge corporate power. We want this. We want that. We want to use the power of the state to enforce our ends. We want somebody who can win. Somebody who's not embroiled in. But the truth is, you don't actually want any of that. And I think he's calling them out for basically lying about what they want. And I think it's true. I mean, look, if the vast majority of the people were like, I support Trump because of his policies, I'm like, yeah, maybe if you're a small business owner. The rest of you, it's like you just love that he pisses off the people that you hate. You can claim otherwise, that's fine. It's your prerogative. But, based on everything that we've seen, if you really do care about quote unquote the policy, it's pretty clear you would pick DeSantis. But nobody votes like that. It's like the Elizabeth Warren campaign back in 2020. She was like, I'm the one who's got a plan for that. It's like, yeah, it's just not really what people care about. It's about, do I feel as if you're actually talking to my concerns? Trump is a master of that. He's the master of, the Roger Ailes quote I talked about previously about making people feel informed, making people feel heard. That's all that actually matters, I think, in a lot of politics. So he's not wrong. I mean, and I've said this now for years. You can go and watch old monologues. I'm like, all MAGA means is Trump, and that's it. And he's the one. And by the way, who are we to say otherwise? It's not us. He invented it. And these people continue to vote for him. Who am I to be like, no, that's not actually what America First. I see people talk about this all the time. Like, that's not the real America First policy. I'm like, yeah, you know what, though? Like, he invented it. He gets to define it. The rest of us get to decide whether we agree or not, in something. And ideological consistency is literally long not been any part of the Trump brand. That's how you have Jim Jordan, who is pro-Trump, and you have a guy like Matt Gaetz, who's pro-Trump. They don't agree on almost anything, but they agree on one thing, which is Trump is the leader, and that's all you actually have to do agree on.
Yeah, I mean, Trump very successfully made the Republican Party all about where do you stand vis-a-vis Donald Trump. That's it. And that's why at the beginning of this primary, when there was a lot of Ron DeSantis hype, I was highly skeptical that even when he was polling well and he just had these great election returns in Florida, et cetera, that this was going to work out for him, because the whole Republican Party is just about how do you feel about Donald Trump. All of his high-minded, in his mind, ideas about how I'm going to put forward this policy agenda in Florida and people are going to see the results of what I'm doing here, et cetera. No, the Republican Party is about how do you feel about Donald Trump. And so until you break that hold that he has, it's just not going to work out. And so it is not a surprise that the person who has the most online energy and is, kind of rising up to be potentially second to Donald Trump is the guy who is hugging him in a lot of ways the most closely, which is Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yes.
He isn't trying to beat Trump. I mean, that's the reality. Vivek is not trying to beat Trump. He's trying to be the second place candidate who, if something happens unforeseen to Trump, he'll be there next in line or might be in a Trump cabinet or whatever. He's not really running to win because there is no ability to directly displace Donald Trump. And that's what Ron DeSantis here has found out. Now, I think his analysis is completely accurate that it's just the definition of a rhino is just basically whatever Donald Trump says it is, and however loyal you are to him or not. That's the whole of the entire thing. But I also want to say, Ron DeSantis was happy to rise based on exactly that dynamic when it served his political interests. When he was initially running for governor, I mean, Trump, very dramatically tells the story about how he came to him with tears in his eyes to beg for his endorsement. I'm sure that part of it is not accurate. But he was very heavily dependent on Trump's endorsement, did what he needed to do to try to get Trump's endorsement in the Republican primary. That enables him to win that victory. He ran all of these just like shamelessly sycophantic ads, the one where his kid was building the wall, et cetera. Yeah. So he was very happy to use this exact political dynamic that he's now decrying for his own benefit until it didn't work out for him any longer. So it's hard for me to shed a tear about, him being sort of flayed now for accurately diagnosing the state of the Republican Party. And by the way, I do think it's fair to say here that he was referring to Trump supporters as listless vessels. I don't think that was taken out of context. It's a little bit unclear whether, he could technically argue oh, no, I was just talking specifically about elected leaders.
Yeah.
But it's put out there pretty broadly, and I think it is fair to say that he was characterizing basically everyone who would just follow Trump regardless and no matter what as kind of listless vessels.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't think he should have said it politically, but analytically, he's right. He's obviously right. And anybody who is not wholly up the behind, I guess to say kindly, of a single politician knows that he's right or has interacted with said people. But, that's telling the truth isn't always the best strategy here. So we have some clips also that we wanted to remind people of, I guess just for fun, about some of these past moments, because these things do matter. Hillary, of course, talking about deplorable voters. Here's what she said at the time.
You can put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it.
Hurts even today. A, her voice, whew. But second, in terms of how politically stupid it was to make that comment. And it also reminded us, Krystal, of the 47% comment that Mitt Romney made.
This is an all-time
This is the all-time hit. Let's take it.
There are 47% of the people who will vote for the president no matter what. All right, there are 47% who are with him, who are dependent upon government, who believe that they're victims, who believe that government has a responsibility to care for them, who believe that they're entitled to health care, to food, to housing, to you name it. But it's an entitlement, and the government should give it to them. And they will vote for this president no matter what.
Oof, that one's still, that actually hurts the most just because it's so brutal. It's such an out-of-touch elitist statement said at the exact moment that some rich guy is sipping wine at a private fundraiser.
Yeah.
You've got a waiter who hated the guy who was recording it. So is this DeSantis's deplorables moment, 47% moment? I don't think so, just because he's not riding high enough for it to matter. He's already dropping regardless of the comment,
Yeah, that is kind of true. I mean, DeSantis's team is trying to clean it up, say it was taken out of context, whatever. I mean, Hillary said the same thing, oh, well, listen to the other part of the sentence where I said the other people are, just basically having trouble economically and they feel left behind or whatever exactly she said. I think of Obama's clinging to their guns comment as well. Same thing. They tried to call this is taken out of context. Hillary made another comment about we're going to put a lot of coal miners out of work. That, by the way, in West Virginia.
That was way worse.
Every
actually.
single person in the state knew about that quote.
Yeah. Well, they should.
Which signaled not only like the reality of like, no, we're coming for your jobs and your economy, but also a level of contempt. She similarly, it was taken out of context if you listen to the whole thing, et cetera. But I agree with you. I don't think that this is as poignant as either of those, any of those examples particularly are. Listless vessels is just not quite as punchy as basket of deplorables as one example. But to me, with DeSantis, it shows a little bit of recognition of reality, perhaps a little bit of frustration, a little bit of desperation that he would, that he would allow himself to say what is clearly a very accurate analysis here, and it's certainly not going to help him out with the Trump voters that he's trying to win over.
I agree.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.